Hey, Shama USC here. Gonna be using Tyson Fury in his new fight kit, but this video is gonna be more on how to win using your jab because I see a lot of people just walking in with hooks and not really using the jab to find their range and not utilizing some jab counters. But yeah, out jabbing Ali's gonna be a tall task for us today. But um yeah, this opponent actually messaged me asking me for tips and everything. So like, shout out to him. Much respect to him. Because some people, they usually get like, maybe upset, frustrated with um me playing like in a sim style where I'm not really throwing a whole bunch of combos. So instead of him texting me on something hateful, he was very nice and I even invited him to a party and everything. Try to teach him some things. So I'm really loving the Undisputed community for the most part. They seem a lot more respectful and laid back compared to the UFC community. But for the most part, with like Fury, like we do have the reach. So for the most part, what I like to do to win with the jab is use it to find the range to land like maybe a hook or two here and there, depending on who I'm matched up against. You don't want to sit like in Deontay Wilder's face. But I use the back step where it's L1 and you flick backwards, where I go in range and then I do a hop step back and I kind of bait you to miss here and there. And I also mix in the body jabs and obviously jabs up top. So you're just kind of giving him a few different things to, worry about. It's fairly basic in practice, but look at that, we're landing our counter shots. But like I said, yes, it is very basic, but you follow those rules and do those few things for the first few rounds, you'll see how much you get most of your opponents to whiff. You're going to run into some people that are really good at the game, of course, but that's just adjustments you'll need to make against those really good opponents. Another thing I do know is Tyson Fury doesn't have the greatest stamina. He has about like 85 to 87 endurance. So we can't just, you know, try to go pace for pace with Muhammad Ali, who has like 95 cardio. But yeah, it's very important to use the jab more. I'd say like 75% of most of the strikes you throw should be your jabs. Even if you don't have the greatest jab, it still is good to use it to find the range to land your hooks regardless. So yes, even if you're Canelo, using the jab a little bit would not hurt you. Or at least the body jabs, just get in range. Because if you use those hooks or uppercuts again range or overhands, you're going to be draining a lot more of your stamina. But for the most part, I'm just circling. I'm baiting him to throw. This is what we call footsies, right? Where I go in range just a bit, where it looks like I'm entering the pocket, and then I back out with my guard down so I move around a little bit faster. So what that does is your opponent doesn't know when you're going to enter the pocket with whatever you're going to enter with. So I'm going to start doing feints, but unfortunately the button is very awkward for me. So I'm probably going to set up my paddle soon on the back of my controller, and I'll map the feint button to it, and I will try to incorporate it. Still a learning process. Like I said, I'm learning with you guys as well, but you could win the fight using just a jab. Of course, I throw some hooks and things like that, and some combos here and there. But for the most part, I am just landing my jab most of this fight. You can also counter with the jab too. So if your opponent misses, you can come in with some quick jabs or jabs to the body, or you can even come in with a cross that like a moving forward cross, like where they leap in a little bit. All you have to do is move towards your opponent while you tap the cross button. Yeah, but for the most part, I'm definitely like very, and my opponent's also not throwing too much, so I didn't really want to start throwing a whole bunch either. If I'm landing my shots, that's perfectly fine. I'd love the stamina change personally because it does allow for more striking. Because if we were getting that tired already in 8 rounds, I was happy with the last patch of stamina, but I think we found a good sweet spot. you know, because I didn't want them to go overboard, but they didn't. So I'm still able to gas people out that are very like, you know, stupid in the way that they, you know, the way they use their volume. Because some people just throw like, they'll throw like triple hook combos like every time you get near them. You know, those guys should always gas out. That's just not being very smart with your gas tank. So I feel like we found a good balance as far as in stamina. But yeah, for the most part, we're winning all the rounds like this. This is how we're winning our rounds. Because it's the volume, and he's not. And also, us using our jab, since we're not committing with like a ton of hooks, it makes it a lot harder for your opponent to hit you. So if your opponent's not really able to land much on you, you're using good movement, you're baiting him to miss things, you're gonna be winning all the rounds, like very easily, because you're landing a bunch of jabs and you're also getting in some combos when you're in range. So that's also rhythm is a big part of how you win with your jab. Because if you're like, if I go in with a double jab and then I start throwing hooks every single time, then your opponent's going to be ready for that and try to counter you. But as you can see, I come in with the body jab just by itself sometimes. Um, Sometimes it's a double jab upstairs. I move back. Sometimes I'll just throw one jab and I'll plant and I'll rip like a few body hooks or I'll hook downstairs and go back up. Look at that. We hit him with a counter body, right? And just like that. So, like, my opponent doesn't know whether if I'm going to jab leave, jab plant, or, you know, just not even into the pocket. So we're giving him multiple different, you know, views. Look at that. He misses. So the counter windows happen when people miss their shots or when you use head movement to counter or make them miss. So, like, if someone misses their shot just like that, you can come in with a jab, a body jab, or like a moving forward cross, and that's a counter. I've been using those back steps a lot more. Not too much, because this guy, he started getting a bit smarter, so he wasn't, like, throwing too much every time I got close to him. But this is what happens, too. It's putting him in a defensive cycle, so he's just trying to worry about defending what I'm doing. He's not worrying about employing his own offense. So what that's going to do for us is it's going to help us outland him. And we already had a couple counters too. And it's just going to help us overall win the rounds very, very easily. And that's another thing about winning with the jab. You have to be comfortable with winning decisions. There's nothing wrong winning decisions. This is a sim boxing game. You guys see a lot of the compilations, I know. But at the end of the day, the really top level players are going to be winning decisions too. Probably more times than not. Because you're not always able you're not always able to get the finish. You know, I watch guys like Box Eyes View, uh, my boy Mikel, a couple other people too, and I don't always see them get finishes. So you gotta understand, like even high level players, they're um they're high level because they know when to chase those finishes and they know when, you know, a decision is necessary. Sometimes those decisions are just necessary. And also sometimes forcing these finishes, like there it's gonna put you in a position where you start getting tired with your opponent. Oh, if you're wondering why I just did that like 4 times in a row, I invited him to the party. Like I think at the end of round 3. So he's in the party with me as we speak. So we're still fighting, but I was just showing him some I was explaining to him that there's multiple layers of striking. There's like moving forward jabs and crosses, like I just did to that body right there, a moving forward body jab. And I was also explaining to him that there's evasive properties in the retreating jab, and the retreating cross even has its own animation. So I was kind of showing him how I was circling around him and how I was staying on center line and basically being very elusive. So I was teaching him a little bit in the rest of this game. I think he's a little bit newer. I think he only had like about 40 to 50 fights. Right now I'm 270 and 50 or something like that. Oh, I don't play like ranked or nothing. This is that's my like, quick match record. If you guys are wondering, since I'm still new to this game and ranked is still kind of broken as far as in like what's going on there. Like I'm hearing there's a glitch where round eight's not counting for a lot of people, and there's still stuff I don't like that's still kind of being overused. Certain animations, certain characters are being used. What else you got? You got loose footwork being abused, and where you're almost like forced to go into it yourself. What else is there? Yeah, and the round eight glitch too. But look at that, we have 100% stamina going into round five. But we're landing counters. In some fights, yes, I may need more volume to win some of the rounds, but for the most part, this pace is very like what you really want to do with, depending on your fighter, of course. I mean, obviously, this style is not going to be applied to Canelo. I would use Canelo similarly with the jab. Like I would use the jab, and I would find my range, and I'll land some clean, short, and sweet combos, and kind of keep resetting. But it would be a lot more aggressive than this, of course. But we're Tyson Fury. We don't have like crazy knockout power. We're not like Deontay Wilder. It's different. Like even Wilder, I would still like to stay on the outside and then time some power shots. But for the most part, we're not doing that with Fury. And again, knowing your fighter is a big thing too. So if you want to win with the jab, Fury doesn't have the greatest jab or nothing. I'm not saying he has the greatest thing in the world, but what he does have is like the reach, and he moves around the. I mean, I was about to say the octagon. Moves around the ring very well, especially if you know how to circle. You guys always want to be circling. And when I'm throwing the jab, 9 times out of 10, I'm usually circling random directions because you just want to be off center line. You never really want to plant your feet, depending on what you're throwing. Like if you're gonna sit there and throw a hook or something, you can plant your feet, but you shouldn't be using the jab like standing still because you could get countered and you could get hit with things. So if you're moving to the side and throwing it while you're moving, it's easier to, get out of danger. See, like I throw my jab, like we get countered with the jab right there. But yeah, man, this is a very cool person though, so I'm still gonna be teaching whenever, we play again. Yeah, because for me, it's not really like I'm competitive in certain ways, but for the most part, my sole goal, like I don't really do like trash talking games, but like I just like to help people get better. And of course, I love to entertain, my viewers. So that's mainly the purpose of this channel, and yeah, I love to do it because when I first got into UFC, there was nobody that taught me anything. So, you know, I always loved helping. I actually met one of my close friends like that too. We met like I beat him in a UFC match and became good friends. See, he misses that right there, and I counter him on my jab. Here, I was just teaching him the retreating jab, and I'm just showing him um, that you can use strikes retreating and sideways punches, like moving to like the left or the right. All has evasion properties, which basically means if I throw a jab moving to the left and he's trying to return a jab or a cross, it's gonna whiff because I'm moving off the center line, which I really enjoy. And yeah, somebody said tracking's still broken, and they said, oh, you're just able to punch more. This video is obviously like, look at what I'm landing. I'm not very high output in this fight. I'm landing whatever I want because I'm lining up my shots, and I'm not throwing with the same hand either. Some people are throwing triple body hook combos with the same hand. Basically, this is why you don't want to do that. There's recovery frames. So if I throw a lead body hook, every lead body hook after the first one has more recovery frames, which make it slower after each punch. So if it's making your punches slower and you're throwing with the same hand over and over, it's going to be very easy for you to whiff shots because your punch speed's getting lowered and the person you're facing is probably moving around. Also, accuracy stat plays a big part. Um, and footworks. You know, sometimes you're not realizing that your opponent is circling away from shots. Yeah, look at that. We still have very, very high stamina. Look at that. We pretty much have a shutout for the most part right here. And it was all mainly from our jab. We're landing our counters, and that's about it. And we're in round 7 right now. Oh yeah, I was teaching him the feint right there. Yeah, it was a very weird button. I was trying to show him how weird it was. He thought he couldn't feint. And I was like, no, they just changed it to the left arrow for some reason. But yeah, ending like going into the 7th round with like max stamina with Tyson Fury goes to show you how effective this playstyle can be. That's specifically using Fury, you know. If I'm using Wilder, there's going to be more power shots a bit, and I'm going to be doing more straights. You know, power straights. And honestly, like, could I throw more? Could I do more? Yes, I can. But if you're keeping an eye on the rounds you're winning, there's no point. You know, I saw I was winning, like, I think around 3 or 4. I was like, okay, I'm up all those 3 rounds. I was still going to make sure I did enough to win going forward. But I didn't take too much risk. Not as much risk as I would have done, say, if we were like tied up. Then I would have been like, okay, I would throw a little bit more. See, he misses that punch right there, and I walk in with a body jab and I counter him. And don't worry, some fights you're not gonna get as many counters. Some fights you're not gonna get as many drops. Oh, I was also right there. I was teaching him that this game is not like an EA game, because we come in here with the habits of Fight Night Championships and UFC 5, where it's like everything's head movement. 90%, well, no, not 90. 80% of what you're doing that's countering people is going to come off of your footwork. It's going to come off of circling off the center line, retreating, and using movement. Head movement's not always going to be a big thing for counters. It depends. Like, you could get some pull counters, don't get me wrong. Of course you can. But a bulk of your counters, well, at least mine's, come from my footwork and me evading shots with footwork, which I personally love. You know, I was intimidated by this game. I'm not even gonna lie when I first got it because I was like, oh my god. But it turns out that a lot of good habits I have in UFC 5 that I tried to implement that I'm not rewarded for, I get rewarded for in this game. So it translates pretty well. Distance management, IQ, you know, having good pace. UFC 5, I'm not gonna lie, has had some great updates recently. It's a lot more fun to play. You know, I gas people out. It's really fun now. I'm just happy that it seems like, you know, EA is doing better because they have competition. Woo. Look at that right there. We hit the nasty backstep counter right there. So that's footsies right there. I enter in the pocket. He thought I was going to stay there. I do a backstep, and we hit him with a counter right, and then we land another counter shot in the body on his way down. And that's going to give us a 10-8 round, and last time we checked, we were up like pretty much every single round. And we get another jab counter right there. Yeah, it's the last 30 seconds, so I'm going to throw a little bit more. Especially if he was hurt, we get countered. Not going to go too crazy. There's just no need to. But yeah, that was a good fight from our opponent, you know. Like, much respect to him. We get another counter right there. You know, at least he's trying to learn the game. He's not trying to exploit, nothing like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned a thing or two. And please tune in.